Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back once again to another Minecraft tutorial. Today we're going to be building a Nordic style mage's house, and for this build you're going to want to find yourself around 13 by 13 blocks of space, and I think like a cool location to put this thing might be sort of backed up against a mountain. So if you have some place to do that, that would definitely be sort of one of the coolest spots, I think. And now, sort of the layout for this, it's going to be, I guess, an upside down L shape, and we're going to be putting a tower on the back, so hopefully this should make it look a lot more unique from the rest of our builds and just give it like a really cool new sort of effect. And then also I wanted to try another new thing, which is just like putting the door on the side of the build instead of on the front like we do most of the time. So now to start this thing off, we're going to start on the left side of the build and sort of more on the front, and we're going to place a block down right here. And now one thing to note is whenever I place one block, you guys are going to need to raise it up 4, so just keep that in mind. And then we're going to skip a gap of 3 right here, place another block, then we're going to go forward, skipping a gap of 3, place this one, then we're only going to skip 1, place that block, and then skip a gap of 3 once again, place this down, and then go back 3, and we're going to ignore the tower for now until the very end. And then now that we're on the back side, we're going to go skipping a gap of 3 to the right, then we're going to skip a gap of 1, and then one more gap of 3, and then we can divide this section into 2 gaps of 3 by placing this one block in the middle. So now that we've raised all our pillars up so they're a total of 4 tall, we're going to grab our dark oak wood and start making cross beams all the way across, connecting all the beams together. So now that you've placed in all your cross beams, one thing that we can do to actually make the build look a lot less flat and give it more of a 3D effect is take our dark oak wood, and we're going to go up 2 blocks, so skip the bottom 2 blocks, and then we're going to place that dark oak wood block sticking straight out right there. And what these are going to be are just sort of little support beams. Now underneath that dark oak wood block, we're going to grab some of these stone brick stairs, and we're going to do one facing upright on the bottom, and then we'll do one facing upside down on the top. Now the only section or pillar where you might not want to do these would be this one right here, just because it will kind of block the door off a little. But every other pillar that you placed in the beginning, go ahead and place another one of these support beams. And then one last thing that you may want to try, just to give it a nice finished look and support the next step, will be to grab a spruce wood stair, and above the little dark oak wood log, all we're going to do, oops, and I did drop it, here we go. So all we're going to do is place the stair upside down right above that dark oak wood. So you can see that by doing this, it really does make the build look a lot less flat and sort of boring, which is really good. Because now, I mean, if the viewer comes in, it's really more exciting for them to look at. There's a lot more colors and stuff. And then also, as I mentioned before, I did leave this section open, so I decided not to place in those stone brick stairs, so it really did manage to keep the door open, which is really nice. So another step we can do to sort of give the build a bit more support and make it easier for us to place down the second floor will be to place a block coming up on the top of each one of the pillars that we placed in the very beginning, and then from that block we're going to just bring it out 2 more, so we have little bits that are creating an overhang. And this is sort of going to be where we start our second floor, and it'll just give the build a lot more sort of flair and style, which is really good because it kind of distinguishes it from a lot of the other builds that you see around. And so we're going to do this one more time just to give you a sort of show around, and then for, say, if you have a flat spot, you'll only need to do 1. Now if you want to connect our cross beams, which will be the next step, it'll just be like that, and then for the front, just do something like this. And now the only tricky part that you may run into will be something like this corner. So for the corner, all we're going to do is grab, and what I like to do is grab the same material as I use for the main portion of my walls, which in this case I think will actually be cobblestone. So we're going to grab that in the half slab form. We'll place that there right on the corner, then switch back to our dark oak wood blocks, place that sticking straight up, and then we will have to do this thing again. And then we can just connect this all the way across. And we'll end up with something like this. So sort of a cool effect. At least I really like it. And then say for this side, we can just bring it over with the same sort of design, and that will be the finished product. So I'm going to fill up the rest of the places really quick, and I will see you guys when I'm done with that. Alright, so all the cross beams are done, and now our next step is going to be to move on to the walls. Now usually when I build walls, I like to just fill them up with windows like crazy. I just think the windows look awesome, they really add a cool effect. Although since this is the Nordic style, and if we're being a little more realistic, it is quite cold here, so windows are really going to let in a lot of that coldness and just sort of the nasty wintry harsh breeze and stuff. So I'm going to try to add as few windows as possible, and maybe only place them in the most essential spots, which may be this wall right here and then this wall right there. So I'm thinking if we can just fill in the rest of the walls completely with our cobblestone and then maybe a base layer of these stone brick slabs, or just the stone slabs I think they are, that might be our best benefit. So let me just fill in the bottom of these 2 sections with these and give you like a quick little sort of preview of what this will turn out to be. So we're going to place in a row of those stone slabs on the bottom, then do a window in the middle, and then on either side of the window we're going to switch to our cobblestone and fill it in like this. So as you can see, that really makes that wall sort of stand out. However, if we decided to do that on the sides, it would kind of be pointless, and again, if we're doing that sort of realistic factor, it would just sort of make the build way too cold for whoever's living in there. So these sections are the only spots where you're going to need to place the windows. For everything else, you can just do something like this with a row across the bottom, and then everything else can just be filled in with cobblestone. So go ahead and do that, and I'll see you when that's complete. So the walls are done, and as you can see, it really makes it sort of stand out a bit more. There's definitely a lot more colors in our build, definitely a lot easier and I guess more enjoyable to look at. Although we still sort of end up with, I guess you could call it, this weird sort of transition between most of our colors. And there's an easy way to fix that. As you can see, we're going to be doing the same thing we did over here. Now you have one option, and that's either to use iron bars or just regular fences, whatever you really think looks best, I guess. Honestly, for this, I just wanted to mix it up across from my other styles, so that's why I really decided to use the iron bars, although fences will look just as good. So to make these, all you're going to do is do a steady sort of line across the bottom on all of your 3-wide gaps, and then place in the iron bars in between. The only place I don't think you're going to be able to accomplish this might be the front, and then also on the back where you have the gap of 1. I might, if I were you, maybe not do that, just because as you can see, it's sort of like a weird little skinny thing. So I'm sure you can place in the half slab on the bottom, but other than that, the iron bar is probably not needed. So now moving on to the second floor, we're only going to need to do one thing, and that will be to grab some of these, wherever they may be, the oak wood planks, and then we're going to sort of fill in a outline of where our floor will be. So if you'd like to, you can delete all of these little dark oak wood blocks sticking up, and then just fill a row of this oak wood across the top of all of the dark oak wood logs that we placed in the beginning. And then you should end up with something like this when you are done. And this is just really going to make it a lot easier to place in our walls for the second floor. And so now our next step is going to be to raise up the pillars of our second floor, I guess sort of walls, and we're going to start that right above the door to the left side right here. So we're going to raise this up 1. Of course, you guys are going to do the full 4 blocks. And then if we skip a gap of 2, I think for this one, or actually, you know what, an easier spot to start this, I guess, might be right here in the front of the build. So if we do this right there, of course you guys will raise that up 4, then we'll skip a gap of 3, place that block here, and then if we move down to the left side, we're going to place 1 block there, skip 3, 1 block there, skip 3 once again, and place that final block right here. Now this wall back here is going to be divided into 2 sections of 3-wide gaps, and then in the middle you'll have this gap of 1. And then moving on to, I guess, the left side of the build, we're going to have this thing right here. So it's going to have the gap of 3 in the middle, and then these 2 sort of diagonal dark oak wood blocks. And then from this, we can skip 3 to the left, place this block right there, and then I think our next step will just be to do 1 right on that one. And I'm pretty sure that should come up with a pretty decent looking effect, although we might just want to go with something like that. That might be a bit more easier to work with. So now that all those are raised up, our next step is going to be to sort of create an outline of where our second floor is going to end, and this is going to be really similar to what we did for the first floor, such as we are going to need to do these cross beams across the top, although one different thing we're going to do is place these sticky ID bits on the outside of all our pillars like this. So it sort of creates, as you can see, we have the ones on the bottom, so it's going to give you room or a gap of 3 in the middle. So on those gaps of 3, we're going to find some cobblestone walls and do a little bit of a different looking support. As you see on the bottom, we have the 2 stairs and the oak wood block, and then the spruce wood stair. But for the top, we're just going to grab our cobblestone walls and do 1, 2, 3 like this, and then same thing over here. Really, if we place that block there, as you can see, that looks good with just the 2. In my opinion, there's really no need to do one in the middle. In fact, I really think that gives it sort of almost too round looking effect, so we're going to go without that. So you're going to continue this sort of style or design all the way across the build. The only place I think you guys might have a little trouble once again is on this corner, so I'm going to show you how to do this really quick. You're just going to go 1, 2, 3 from there, and then 1, 2, 3 from here, and then we're going to place this little sticky out bit there and here, and that should be all you need to do. If you'd like to, you could place 1 sticky out bit right there. I think that could look quite cool, and then also maybe 1 right here. That's almost overkill, although it might create somewhat of a cool effect. Let's just see how this turns out. Is that too much? I guess that's really up for you guys to decide. Whatever you like. This really isn't going to affect too much of your build. It's not going to make it harder for you to build if you leave it out or if you put it in. So really entirely just up to you. Alright, so now that all of those supports and sort of detailed pillars are installed, we can sort of move on to the inside walls. And I find the easiest way to do this is just to fill them all in, and then to dig out most of the windows, we're going to move to the outside once that's complete. So before we made this little outline with our oak wood planks, and that's going to really sort of give us a nice guideline on where we need to place our spruce wood planks for the walls. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3 on top of that, and then everywhere else where you have the oak wood planks, you're just going to continue this up. So I'm going to fill in this wall, and then of course you guys will do the full thing, and I'll see you guys when that is done. So the walls all are in, so now we're going to start carving out some windows. So to begin with, we're going to move to the front of the build, carve this one out right here. Then if we cycle over to the right a bit more, if you'd like to, you could squeeze one in here. In fact, if you didn't add that pillar right there, that's one window I would definitely recommend. In fact, I quite like that one, so instead of having this here, I think I'm going to carve that out, although that piece right there, oops, that piece right there does look sort of good. So one more window I'd like to add is right here. Now if you move over to the right side of the build, I think it could use one on there. And then for the back, right here, there's definitely no need since that's where the tower is going to be. And then for the right one, we can actually add one in there. Unless you're thinking about adding a chimney. In that case, I might fill this wall in and then just leave the window out. So that gives you room for a chimney. Although on this wall, definitely add them both in. And then now that those are in, we can start filling them in with our glass. Although before I do that, I would like to show you 1 or 2 more things you can do to make these walls have a lot more detail. So the first thing is just adding these 2 little sticky in bits right here that are on the middle of this 3-wide section pointing in towards the window. And then below those, what I usually like to do is grab some cobblestone stairs and just give it a nice little color variation block. And these can also serve as a bit more support for the build. So you can either have them facing under like that, underneath those logs, or you can flip them sideways like this. Either one really does look good, although I think I'm going to go with this style for this build. So anyways, continue doing those all the way around the place. The only way or spot I would suggest not doing them is right here. I think this looks better almost without them, although maybe you could do one little cross beam in the middle with the dark oak wood block. But other than that, just do the same thing we did to the front. Alright, so this is going to be it for today, guys. I just want to sort of keep the videos a bit more shorter, especially on these tutorials, just so it's easier for you guys if you do make a mistake or need to go back. You can really have the option to sort of find your way back to that point easier instead of searching through like a big giant long 40-minute video. And don't worry, I have not forgotten about the mage tower. We will be covering that in the next video. Hopefully we can get everything done in that. All we really have left to do is the roof, the mage tower, and then some more little details. I kind of wanted to do a little side roof sort of slanting down here at a less sharp angle than the rest of them are going to be at. And then another good thing about sort of making the builds into like 2-part tutorials is I do get to hear your guys' feedback before it's complete, so I can make changes, or if you guys have suggestions or opinions on maybe stuff we could do better, I can definitely take those into consideration and add them in. Or if you guys even have like troubles building something, if you want me to go back over or kind of reiterate on something maybe I didn't cover so well, I can definitely do that. So thanks again for watching, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy at least the first part of this tutorial today, and as always, I will see you in the next one.